Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a really powerful but maybe not so well known tool for building our communities state infrastructure banks. We've all seen it, right? We see the need for a new bridge, or better roads, or a new transit line. But these projects just seem to get stuck in limbo for years and years. So the big question is how do we actually speed this stuff up and get things built when we need them? Well, it turns out one of the smartest answers to that question is something called a SIB, which stands for State Infrastructure Bank. And you can really think of it as a financial accelerator, designed specifically to get these massive projects off the starting block and moving forward. So, at its heart, a SIB is a financial institution run by the state. And its whole mission is pretty simple: give flexible credit and financial help to local governments. The key here is that it's not about grants that you spend once and they're gone. It's all about smart, reusable financing that just speeds up the whole delivery process. Okay, so we know what it is, but what can a SIB actually do? Well, it's way more than just a simple loan program. A SIB comes with a whole toolkit of different financial instruments that it can use to help projects in all sorts of ways. So let's crack open that toolkit and see what's inside. And wow, this toolkit is pretty packed. I mean, you've got your low interest loans, which are the most common for sure. But then you have things like loan guarantees, letters of credit, even things like bond insurance. Every single one of these tools has a very specific job to do to make a project more financially sound. And while all those fancy tools are important, let's be real. Loans are the bread and butter of what SIBs do. They are by far the most common type of help they give out. But even within the world of loans, there's a ton of flexibility in how they can be set up. Now, this is where things get really clever. A SIB can offer what's called a senior loan, the kind that gets first dibs on being paid back. But it can also offer a subordinate loan. And by agreeing to get paid back after other private lenders, the SIB basically takes on more risk. And that makes the whole project way more attractive for private banks and investors to come in and help fund it. It's a really strategic move. But hang on, what if a project doesn't even need a direct loan from the SIB? What if it just needs a little boost, a little help to make its own financing look stronger so it can get a better deal from a private bank? That's exactly where these credit enhancement tools come into play. A SIB can step in and offer a guarantee, which is kind of like having a super creditworthy friend co-sign your loan. This gives private lenders a huge boost of confidence, and that often means the project can lock in a much better interest rate than it ever could have gotten by itself. Another really smart tool is the Debt Service Reserve Fund. Basically, the SIB puts some money aside just in case the project's revenue dips for a bit and it has trouble making a loan payment. It's a financial safety buffer, and having that buffer makes investors feel so much more secure, which, again, can really bring down the project's borrowing costs. Okay, if you thought that was cool, get ready, because this next part is where SIBs go from just being helpful to being an absolute financial powerhouse. We're going to talk about leverage, the amazing concept that lets a SIB multiply its financial firepower without needing a single new dollar from the government. All right, let's use some nice round numbers. Imagine a state starts its SIB with an initial $100 million. That's a decent start, right? Enough to get a few projects going. But a leveraged SIB doesn't just stop there. Instead of just lending out that $100 million, the SIB does something way smarter. It uses that initial capital as collateral. It goes out to the bond market and borrows more money against the assets it already has. And boom, just like that, its lending capacity explodes. That initial $100 million could suddenly become $400 million, or even more, in money that's ready to go out to projects. This is how SIBs can punch way, way above their weight class. Now, I know what you might be thinking. All this flexibility, all this money multiplying, it sounds a little bit like the Wild West, doesn't it? But don't worry, it's not. There are very clear federal rules of the road that make sure all of this happens inside of some pretty responsible financial guardrails. For instance, there are some key federal rules that keep everything on the straight and narrow. SIB loan rates have to be at or even below what you could get on the private market, so you know they're providing a real benefit. Repayment has to kick in within 5 years of the project being finished, and the whole loan can't last longer than 30 years. So it's flexibility, but it's flexibility with accountability. So let's bring all this high-level financial stuff back down to earth. Why does any of this actually matter to you, your town, or your commute? Well, it all boils down to one simple, powerful word: acceleration. For a city or a county, a SIB is an absolute game changer. It means they can start projects years sooner than they thought possible. It helps them lower their borrowing costs, it makes them look stronger financially, and it often fills that last frustrating little funding gap that can keep a great project on the shelf for decades. SIBs are truly project acceleration tools. But honestly, the most brilliant, the most powerful part of the entire SIB model, it's not just about the first known. Its greatest power is its ability to reinvest, to operate as what's called a revolving fund, making sure its impact is felt for decades to come. And this cycle here is so simple but so powerful. The SIB lends money to Project A. Then, as Project A pays back that loan with interest, the money flows right back into the SIB. And the bank can then immediately turn around and use those very same dollars to finance Project B, and then Project C, and so on, basically forever. So the crucial takeaway here is that a SIB is a self-sustaining engine for infrastructure. It's like this quote says so perfectly. One project's repayment becomes another project's financing. That right there is the incredible long-term power and promise of state infrastructure banks. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.